What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Orange Sportscast. We're talking about the playoffs today. Josh, have you watched every game or what?
I have watched most of every game, yes. Obviously, with the NHL's terrible scheduling, you can't watch every minute of every game, but
It is
yeah, most
brutal.
of them. Yeah. Most of them, yeah. I I
Dude,
I, I enjoyed, I don't know about you, but I enjoyed, was it the Sunday slate where it was like 12, 3, 7, and 10? Obviously,
it's so, and I
nobody
was,
watched the last game because that was Calgary, Vancouver, but
uh, yeah, dude, like even today it's 7:30, 8, and then 10. Why can't you just do 7, 8, and then 10? Like, I don't know. I feel they can do so much with the schedule. And I was talking to my dad and just seeing on Twitter, a lot of people think it's regional. So it's like, what time in this market is the best for the people in this market to watch? But if I'm the NHL, I'm looking at it's international. Like it's the playoffs. Everyone watches round one. Everyone
you
knows.
it's
So
un it's
you know what I'm trying to
unfortunate, but
say?
you have to look at the demographic that watches it the most, and that's the
Yeah.
demographic that we're in. So if I was to tell you that the playoff schedule would be like 5:15, 7 o'clock, 9:30, and 10,
Yeah.
that would be more ideal, right?
Exactly. But like
So I don't know.
the
But
team playing at 5:15, I don't think it's realistic to say everyone in Carolina cannot be in front of the TV at 5. You know what I mean? So yeah,
yeah,
it's better for us, but it's I don't know. I know what you're trying to say because like
we're nitpicking. Let's get into it.
yeah,
So,
well,
what did you take away from this weekend? Like just your overall, like we'll break down the series. I want to get your overall main takeaway from all the games that we've watched up until now.
the energy in the product is so much better. I don't know if it's because fans came in the building or what's happening, but I personally attribute it because I remember the 2013 playoff was so good, the shortened season, and so is this one. I just think hockey's better when you don't play as many regular season games and everyone's healthy for the playoffs. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I've
Yeah,
noticed an actual difference in intensity relative to the bubble and all these other playoffs because I honestly think if I'm the NHL, I know money it won't work out, but I think it's safe to say hockey's better when you play less regular season games and everyone's healthy. Like the only star that I can think of that's not healthy right now is Aaron Ekblad. Like literally everyone else is playing. Like I don't know if they're 100%. They're probably obviously not. But I just think hockey's so much a better product because of that. And the intensity and the physicality of every game is insane.
yeah. I mean, I have the same takeaway as you, I believe. Like just the fans in the building made such a difference, and I have one concern. I'll share that with you after I get the positive out of the way. Like just watching that Carolina game last night, that's where it kind of stood out to me. Like they had that intro where everyone was waving the towel. I thought that building was sold out. And then later I look into it, they only had 12,000 people in there. Like
Yeah, that's bullshit.
they weren't full. I think they were full. I think they reported 12,000.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just makes such a difference, right? Like having a live crowd, the sound guy doesn't have to pipe in the sounds. The energy was fantastic, especially in that Tampa, Florida game where Bobrovsky makes those two huge saves late to force into overtime, and you hear the crowd like, "Oh," and "Oh," it made such a difference. You got some rough series like Washington, Boston. I know they're in Washington, so they only had 25% capacity, but they were loud, man. Like
Oh,
that
boy,
game
were
was
they
like
loud, yeah.
like you look at the Vegas Wild series, those goaltenders had an outstanding game in that. Both of them deserve a pat on the back. Like that game was phenomenal. The crowd was popping for every save, and like even when the Wild won, you could feel the energy being sucked out of the building because of the fans. I just think having the fans back is making such a difference, which leads me to my worry, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. We're kind of going to be underwhelmed when these Canadian division games come on TV and there's no crowd reaction. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Canada's a lot more like they care about COVID a lot more. They're a lot more cautious, I would say. But like I honestly think if you have a building that sits 20,000 people, you're telling me not 2,000 people or 500 people or whatever the number can't go in. And I don't want to get into politics. Obviously, we're not talking about
Yeah,
that. But I just do think it's in a time of a pandemic. It's some people have a first dose. You could turn it into such a positive, like, oh, people with a vaccine can come in just because like promote that, or you could say our first responders, a lot of people who've suffered in the pandemic, you get first dibs. So I think you can turn it into a positive. So I do think the Canadian team's at a disadvantage, but I don't know if the product would necessarily suffer. Like I think we're still going to see really good hockey because it is Matthews, McDavid, Scheifele, so on. So I do think the hockey will be good, but I do agree with you that like it's going to feel different. I would say I think that's a safe assumption.
yeah. Like, it's gonna feel weird, like, especially with I think the Jets and the Oilers play the late game tomorrow night, and then we're gonna watch one of the games with a full crowd, which will lead into Jets Oilers, and then they have no crowd and it's just kind of dead. It's just gonna be kind of odd, I think. But let's get into it. Let's get right into it. So first game, let's just kind of go in order of the way they played. Washington, Boston, game 1 and game 2. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Like, let's start with game 1 and then we'll go into game 2 because they're already 2 games in.
Starting with game 1, the first shift, you see Ovi picks up speed. When he plays in the playoffs, he's like a bull, man. Like, this guy, he saw Krejci. Krejci only touched the puck for 30 seconds, but that's enough for Ovi, and he destroyed him. And you saw that. I think in game 2, I think Wilson hit Lazar, and he went flying into the boards.
Into the bench,
yeah, not the boards. Yeah, I just think the physicality in that series is definitely a takeaway. And then also with the Washington's goalie injured, what's his name, Vanacek or something? I don't know.
Vanacek was injured. Anderson had to come in.
He got hurt, and Craig Anderson came in. And before we get into that, I got to say Kelly Rudy. And if people who don't know, this guy is a Canadian broadcaster. He went on the intermission, and he blamed him for getting hurt. Did you see that,
No,
Josh?
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that? So,
I don't watch intermission shows.
Yeah, they're terrible. Like, all of our audience, I don't know. It's literally only hockey. But anyways, yeah.
Scroll
so what he was literally saying is, like, this is the NHL. This is the first game of the playoffs. If you got to stretch all day, you stretch all day. You should not have a pulled groin. It's unprofessional. Like, he actually went in. Like, maybe we could
pull a groin. Like,
I don't know. Maybe we can post on the Instagram, but he said that's not fair to do to a backup goalie. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Isn't the whole point of a backup goalie to prepare to be backup? Like it's literally in the fucking title. So I don't understand. That was stupid. I saw Twitter go off on that. But anyways, getting back to the game, I think it's Kelly so Rudy's good. And I have to apologize to Washington because I picked the Bruins in 7, and I just look at the Caps. And my takeaway is they're the better team through the first 2 games, Josh. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think Washington are the better team. I think they would have won, and obviously we'll get to game 2 in a minute. Well, I guess we can just kind of discuss it.
Talk on the series,
yeah. I think Washington's been the better team throughout the both games. If Washington has their starting goaltender, I think they win game 2 in regulation. Craig Anderson was shaky in the first period. I don't think he brought his best game. Matt, I don't know if I'm comfortable saying this, but I'm going to say it. Did the Bruins look rattled to you? I think the Caps have rattled the Bruins a little bit. Like, I think the Bruins feel uncomfortable in this series. I don't know if that's just me watching the game. They don't look as crisp and as clean as they did in the regular season. Is that just me, or have you observed the same thing?
No, I understand what you're saying, but I just think those Boston Bruins, they've been together so long, and once you go into Boston, it's a different game. Like, it's just different. Like, the TD Garden, like, we all know what their record is in home games in the playoffs. Like, they just win. They find ways to win. So I think if you're Washington, like, losing game 2 is huge. Like I know a lot of people don't like to say that early on in the series because it's like, dude, it's best of 7. Like, winning 1 game is not going to make or break you. But I think.
Oh, but I think you and I can both agree a 2-0 chokehold is huge.
Exactly. And all I know about Boston is they're going to take 1 game at home. Like, I know that for a fact. Like, I think that is so safe to say.
I'd be shocked if they didn't.
I'd be shocked if they didn't take 1. Like, actually shocked. Something would have to go wrong. So I think coming back 2-2 to Washington is not ideal. Like, you want that game 5 to be the game where you step on their throats.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we could go into other series, but I just think losing at home is big. And you saw Vegas lose at home, Florida lose at home. And I think all of those teams are feeling a little cutthroat right now. Like, these playoffs are killer, man. Like, just some of the guys that are going. Right. And, like, just talking about, we'll stay on this series. Like, Garnet Hathaway scored 2 goals, one of them on a 2-1, 2-on-1, and he ripped, like, he looked like Austin Matthews. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
everyone's coming to play. And the thing I love about playoff hockey is I can actually argue, like, I know it sounds crazy, but in terms of momentum, every line is as important because you don't know what line's going to score the big goal. You don't know what line's going to get the block shot. You don't know who's going to hit who. So I just think it's so impressive from that retrospect that every player is involved. And you don't see that in any other sport, maybe football, but you know what I'm trying to say? So I think that's why playoff hockey stays undefeated. But yeah, so I don't want to change my prediction. I'll still go Bruins in 7 just because I don't like bailing. So I'll still go Bruins in 7, but I think that series is amazing. And that was the first game on Saturday night. I thought that was an amazing start to the NHL playoffs.
It was a great kickoff. And there's 2 stories coming out of this that I think you and I do need to talk about a little bit. The Capitals, it looks like they're going to be without Lars Eller, and now they only actually have 2 natural centers left because it doesn't look like Kuznetsov is going to pull into this series. He's been a scratch in practice. I think Washington might be done with him. So let's take this one story at a time. Lars Eller. How can the Capitals compete if they don't have this guy?
I saw them just before we started recording that they brought up Connor McMichael, and I don't know if he'll get in, but like the the World Juniors Connor McMichael. So I just think like when your team
with player, sorry, I need to great player. That is not who you need to call up in the playoffs.
Really? I think, but like I see playoffs sometimes just the youth, it gets the boys going. I think when you're a veteran team like Washington, seeing a 19, 20, 21-year-old kid, it might bring you some more juice. And the way I look at Washington is, like I said, they're the better team for us the first two games. So I know Eller is a massive loss, but I do think they will be able to recover. And I don't think it will have that impact a lot of the media is trying to say. Like, I think I think both teams are on a roll. Like, watching the game, it sounds stupid, but I don't know the difference between like a first-line player and a fourth-line player. Like, I think both teams are going. Both teams could win the cup. So I don't think this is having so much impact in terms of Eller coming out. But why do you hate Connor McMichael, Josh?
No, I don't hate Connor McMichael. I just think if you could have Evgeny Kuznetsov or Connor McMichael, you're taking Kuznetsov.
Oh yeah. But I'm talking relative to like next man up. They're in a pretty good position for having a guy like him come in. Yeah, that's what I mean.
I don't think that's winning you a series, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Okay, we'll find out. Yeah.
Well, no, we will. But yeah, back to Lars Eller. Like, if they don't get him back, can they win it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Are the Caps gone with Evgeny Kuznetsov? Because this is his second time that he's lost time due to a COVID protocol, and he was wearing a scratch jersey or whatever you want to call it in practice today. He was an extra in practice. Are they done with it?
I have no idea. Like, I think this narrative kind of gets lost because he was on the COVID protocol. Same with David Perron last night.
Yeah.
And I just think with this COVID protocol list, like, I don't know if it's like, someone who was careless or this or that. So, like, I don't really want to talk about it or backtrack because I actually have no idea. Mm-hmm. But I do understand what you're saying. Like, there probably is some frustration to because I think it's safe to say that someone around you misjudged the situation, whether it's your neighbor, your wife, your brother. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say? Right. Like, something happened, right? Especially if it's only one guy, you kind of look at the situation and be like, what the fuck did this guy do? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Because, like, it's only one guy. Like, I think it's very rare for that to happen in these circumstances. So I think if you're an NHL player right now, just stay in your house. It literally should be a bubble and just try to focus on the cup. So it is a shame that he's not playing. It's a lot more entertaining with him playing, especially when he does the bird celebration. Right. I think that would get Boston going a lot. So, yeah, I just hope he comes back. And if he doesn't, it's a big loss. But I think Washington will keep her going. Yeah,
it just with Evgeny Kuznetsov, I think they might be done with him after the season. They're going to need – I don't know if they trade him or not. Like, this is a whole different conversation with Ovechkin, even in new contracts and all that. They're going to want to keep him over Kuznetsov if they have to. But the whole thing with that is your main job as an NHL player is to help your team succeed. And if he is going out – and I'm not saying he's doing this, but if he's going out and not following COVID protocols, he's not doing his job. You know what I mean? Like, if he's going out, if he's going to clubs, going to restaurants without a mask or whatever, and I know it's probably legal in Washington, I'm not sure what their restrictions are, but if he is being exposed to a COVID situation, he's not doing his job. So the Capitals, I can see them getting frustrated with that. I hope he's okay. I hope he plays in this series. I want to make that clear because NHL hockey is the best in the playoffs when it's best on best. You want to see two healthy teams going at it, taking each other's heads off. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, but I think you're reading into the situation too much, man.
Oh, like, I'm reading into it way too much.
You know what I mean? Like, it could literally be the guy in the mailbox handed him his mail, but he tested positive for COVID and they shook hands.
But
like,
it could be three times though. Like he's been on there 2 or 3 times.
Okay,
now.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. Like, I looked up at Cap Friendly because I thought he would have trade protection because he did get a huge contract a few years ago. So he has a 15-team no trade list. So you could actually work with that. Like, 50, like, there's 32 teams soon, only 15 of them you get a say. Like, anyways, I don't know. That's a conversation for later. But yeah, that's COVID protocol is going to be a bitch in the playoffs moving forward.
Right. Okay, so next series, you already gave your prediction for that. So let's move on to probably the best series so far in Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Florida Panthers. Do you want to do this now or do you want to close with it?
No, let's talk about. Actually, it doesn't matter. Whatever.
Let's just do it now. Let's do it now. We're going.
Yeah. Talk about Tampa. Yeah.
So, what did you think of that game one? I thought it was the most entertaining game of the year.
I was upset at Braden Point for robbing us of overtime. Like, I actually
I wanted overtime.
I wanted overtime so badly. They play again tonight, so whoever's listening will probably already see the game or be watching the game as they're listening, which I recommend.
I'll get it
So,
up.
yeah. So, yeah, I just think these are absolute juggernauts of teams going at it. And Joel Quenneville, oh my, what he's done with Florida is insane. Like, I saw Racco Gudis look like Chris Pronger. It was insanity just from the standpoint of who was contributing. Like, Verhage looked good, Duclair looked good. And I know I'm kind of gassing up Florida because I did pick them to win, but I do think Tampa is another storyline. And, dude, how good is Kucherov? Like, seriously. Like, I think we have to take a minute to actually talk about him. Like,
yeah,
that's
like,
insane.
Okay, so before we talk about Kucherov, let's get this out of the way because I want your opinion on this. Is what Tampa did with the salary cap good or bad for you?
I think
do you hate it or do you love it?
The only thing I don't like is the offseason was planned like, oh my God, like, is Point going to get, not Point, is Sergachev going to get an offer sheet? Are they going to have to trade this guy, like Tyler Johnson, this guy? And I just think it sucks from a player movement standpoint to if it was, you can't spend more than $81.5 million. Who on Tampa would not be on the team right now? Maybe McDonough, maybe Sergachev, like Anthony Cirelli. Like, it would be a good player playing on another team. So I think from a trade perspective, it kind of does suck that they could do this with the cap. But, like, I don't know, man. It's the NHL rules, and everyone's doing it. I think I saw a stat, like, half the league, so 15 teams, are above 81.5, and the LTIR, it's just a mess. So let them do what they want, but I think you have a different opinion on that, no?
You know what? I did have a different opinion on it, and you know what? I thought about it hard. There is no rule saying that they couldn't do this. Rules are meant to be broken. Loopholes are meant to be looped. Tampa Bay found a way to get their team into the playoffs, and they found a way to get a juggernaut team into it. And I thought about it from this. Like, obviously, I'm a Leafs fan. I got this giant flag behind me. I got my Colton Ord thing. I got Nick Kyprios on top of my Go Leafs Go shirt. If they'd have done this with Austin Matthews, which I think is a fair equivalent, I would have been like, that's genius for the Leafs. What Tampa Bay did was genius. And you also got to give Tampa credit. They still made the playoffs without Kucherov. They're a playoff team. All they're doing is adding to that playoff team. And I think what sucks for Florida is that they have lost two players for, well, they've lost a player for, who got injured? Was it, his name's on the tip of my tongue. Ekblad got injured.
And Sam Bennett got suspended.
Sam Bennett got suspended. But Tampa Bay gamed a player. So it sucks, but that is what it is. The rules allow for it. Will the NHL fix it? Maybe, probably not. Does the NHL need to introduce a luxury tax? Yes. That can be a whole different conversation we have. If you don't know what a luxury tax is, look into the NBA. But we mentioned Sam Bennett. Let's move right into that. What did you think of that suspension, especially in this type of series where we know it's going to be physical and these teams hate each other?
Yeah, everyone was talking about it. I think, like, he should get suspended. It was only one game. I think it's one of those things, like, just move on. You don't have him for game 2, whatever. Like, I don't see a huge scandal or like a Tom Wilson type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is big for Florida because, as you did say, they're already missing Ekblad. And it seems like they're getting weaker and weaker in terms of players and injuries and stuff. But Tampa's getting stronger and stronger. And that trajectory usually equals Tampa winning. But I don't know, man. Florida's just so scrappy that I think they can.
I still like Florida to win this series.
They can find a way, man.
I thought they were the better team in that game.
And, like, shout out to Bobrovsky, man. Like, after everything that's happened in his performance, he's come to play. Like, I think it's so entertaining.
I thought he was terrible.
Dude, he made some big saves. Like, who was it that he stopped in the breakaway? I don't know who it was.
I know he made some big saves, but some of those he saved, and he is not starting tonight. Chris Drieger's starting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Chris Drieger is starting.
Well,
they have for practice.
They have a three-headed monster goaltending anyway. So my point more is just I think Florida will get goaltending to kind of bounce back.
Yeah.
And, dude, I think what Tampa did in that one game, in my opinion, was harder on Tampa than the whole playoffs last year. Maybe not mentally because of the bubble, but in terms of just a hockey perspective, I think that one game against Florida was more intense than any of their games in the bubble. Like, I actually thought for the majority of that game, Tampa's going to lose. And it took them scoring a bunch of goals late. And like I said, Point on the breakaway for them to win. And I think them versus Carolina, whatever team gets by, I think that series is going to be amazing.
I think whoever makes it to the next round against Carolina, if this series goes 6 or 7, Carolina may just mop the floor with them.
Really? No.
Yeah. We can get into the Carolina series next. There's still a couple things. In this game, I don't know if you watched it. I'm assuming you did. I thought Barkov was an outstanding player, and I think we need to give him some credit. Like at 5-on-5, he had an 80% shot share. Is Barkov one of those players we need to start taking more seriously as like a top tier NHL player?
I if you don't think he is, you're an idiot. But like,
there's a lot of people who don't. I think he is.
But I don't know, man. Like some people say, oh, small market this, small market that. It's like, dude, like I think once you're a great player and you get your team into the playoffs, you're in the playoffs, and you think the player is still underrated, you're an idiot. Because you know what I mean? Like the playoffs, like I think if you're a true hockey fan, you're watching a little bit of every series. So I don't understand why people are shocked that Barkov and Huberdeau are good. Like they've been good for a while. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? So I think if I'm Florida, I'm happy I got those two. And yeah, he is a top flight NHL player.
Yeah, I just think some people, just because it's a minority market, they don't get to see the way the player plays. And like I'll admit it, I didn't watch too many Florida Panther games this year. I probably watched 5 to 10. When I saw him play, he was a great player. So do you want to change your prediction for the series, or are you going to keep it the same?
No, I'll go Florida in 7.
So I had Florida in 6. So we're both saying Florida. So we mentioned the Carolina series. So do you want to just do that one for now?
Yeah, Carolina mopped the floor with them. We don't have to. Let's not even talk about the series so that long because I don't think Nashville deserves it. I think you kind of did mention.
That's hilarious. I wrote him. I got my notes right here. I write notes before every show just to keep myself on track. I wrote Carolina mops the floor with Nashville. Huge shout out to the Carolina crowd. Jordan Staal scores twice. That's all I have.
Yeah, dude. I think that's all we need to say. Like I look at like teams like Carolina and Florida, and like, dude, once your market's winning, I don't care if you're a small market, your fans will show up and you're getting some extra juice. Like Florida fans showed up, Carolina fans showed up. And I think it's so good for hockey that you're having these non-traditional hockey markets become pretty good. And if I'm a free agent looking at Carolina or looking at Florida, like it seems like a pretty good destination right now, if you ask me. So I think both teams are on track, yeah.
It seems like a top hockey market, especially with Rob Brendamore there, right?
Tom Dundon, too, owner.
Tom Dundon, yeah.
Give him some credit.
You mentioned the crowd. Nashville is known for their crowds, and we're expecting them to be between 80 to 100% capacity for their first playoff game.
It's not going to matter.
Nashville's fully open. Okay, but do you think that could help Nashville a little bit if they're back to normal with their crowd? Because we saw them in their Stanley Cup run back in, what year was that?
2017. That was a long time ago.
2017. I know it was a long time ago. The team changes, the fans don't. Is it going to make a difference?
If they go down 2-0, I don't think it will matter because I know Carolina's getting one. So I think if they win this game, kind of like Boston did, you can take a breath if you're a Predators fan. But, dude, the way Svechnikov, Aho, Slavin were just whipping the puck around, I don't see that happening at all.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is kind of – this and the St. Louis series is kind of the ones where it's like, okay, let's just get on with it. If Nashville does stand a chance, I think it is at home, but they do have to win one on the road since they are the away team. So I guess we'll see what happens there. But I think Carolina's got this in 5 or 6. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Would you say 5?
5 or 6.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting, I thought the Canes, like just on a note, like the Canes went down twice. I thought they responded well. I don't know if
they did, yeah.
Anything into the series. Yeah, but okay, yeah. Wild versus Las Vegas. Did you watch that game?
Dude, I watched that game. I think Fleury played amazing. And, I think someone asked me a few months ago, maybe it was on the pod, should Fleury be in the Hall of Fame? And I just kind of think, dude, he has to at this point. I think when you say Marc-Andre Fleury, I think of Vegas more than I think of Pittsburgh at this time. And I think that's insanity, just looking at the legacy. He won 3 cups in Pittsburgh, but people might only talk about Vegas. I think this guy's amazing. But in terms of Minnesota,
Marc-Andre Fleury has been in 15 consecutive playoffs.
Yeah, dude, dude. It's honestly insanity. I'm dumbfounded. I don't even know what to say. But my point on Minnesota still stands. This is the best they will ever get because Kaprizov's the only young one, but everyone else, Spurgeon, Sutter, Zuccarello, Bonino, who else? Cam Talbot, all the guys who are contributing are 29 to 30. So I don't understand why everyone's surprised that Minnesota is doing good and fighting back. Josh, do you want to fill me in? Am I missing something? I knew they were good. I said Vegas in 7. Like, this is going to be a series,
I said Minnesota. I think I said Minnesota.
You said Minnesota, yeah.
I said Minnesota. I can't remember what number it was. I don't think it really matters. I said Minnesota. I think Minnesota's going to do it just because I don't think Vegas has the fight in them to keep up with Minnesota. And I think we saw that on a level in game one, because in overtime, what I took away from that play was that Minnesota wanted it more. Like, Fleury said, I'm going to stand on my head. So Talbot said, I'm going to stand on my head.
Yeah. I don't know, man. But how often is Vegas going to score no goals?
But how often is Minnesota only going to score one? You know what I mean? Like,
pretty often.
I don't think so. Like,
we'll find out tonight. We'll find out.
This is one of the more intriguing series. It wasn't before game one was played. Now that we saw game one was a 1-0 overtime win, I think it has our attention more than it did before, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
I agree with you, man. I think Minnesota, I think it's more just Vegas has been a juggernaut ever since they've come in the league. They got a big signing for Petrangelo. So your mind is just more likely to say, yeah, Vegas is going to win. Vegas is going to win. And Minnesota, it kind of looks like they're just led by a rookie, which they kind of are. But like I always say, they have veterans. They're a good group in terms of, I don't think they're going to get rattled. They've been there before. Talbot played in New York. Then he played with McDavid. Spurgeon's been in the league forever. Benino won a cup. Parise and Suter. I know Parise draws in and out, but like they have that experience. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like they surrounded Kaprizov, Greenway, some of their younger guys with good veteran guys. So I think they're ready to make some noise. But no matter who wins out of Vegas and Minnesota, I think Colorado's going to take it because I think it's had such a dominating performance.
Out of Vegas and Minnesota, you think Colorado's going to take it?
Dude, Colorado, we can get
Colorado
you mean
now. In the second round, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, in the second round. That's what I meant, yeah.
You threw me off there. I was like, what the hell is this guy talking about? No.
Yeah, I meant coming out.
Just to keep it the Vegas-Minnesota series, would you be surprised if Minnesota won?
I wouldn't be surprised. That's why I said 7. And I think a lot of my predictions where I say it's going 7, like I did with Tampa, Florida, in my opinion, yes, that's what that means. It's a coin flip. It's going to come down to Game 7 overtime, but you can't say I picked in Game 7 overtime. You sound like an idiot or a kid.
Yeah.
Sorry. Not that kids are stupid. I just meant that's like the fantasy you play in road hockey.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's
yeah. So let's move on to that series you just brought up then.
Dude, McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog, I don't know why, but everyone says the perfection line is the Boston line. Those three arguably are I don't know how to say this, but I think they're the best players individually at what they do. So I look at Landeskog, you got a Gordie Howe hat trick. Is there a power forward as better than Landeskog? Like, you know what I'm kind of trying to say? Like the stereotypical kind of power forward, like maybe like Corey Perry in his prime, like a Josh Anderson type. I'm trying to think of other, like Evander Kane. You know what I'm trying to say? Those type of players.
Yeah.
So I think he's like the top of that kind of group. He can hit, he can fight, he blocks shots, he scores goals. McKinnon is Nathan McKinnon, and Rantanen. I've never seen a 6'4" winger who can score that easily. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think this is a team where I can see them winning multiple cups in the next 10 years, and they're young. I saw with Alex Newhook playing in his first couple games. He was flying. JT Compher is flying. Kadri had a bad play, but overall, I think I noticed him. You know what I'm trying to say? He was starting to cook. Grubauer had a very underrated season. I think Colorado is ready to make some noise.
I think Colorado will be in the Cup final. I don't like predicting Cup finals because you don't know what teams look like. I think teams grow a lot in the playoffs. So whoever they play in the Cup final could grow a lot as a team, but we'll see when they get there. Jordan Binnington made 46 saves in that game, and they still lost.
He stood on his head, yeah.
He stood on his head. I think that's the most St. Louis can expect, to be honest. I don't think St. Louis stands a chance in this series.
Dude, I think Colorado, they're such better skaters than them.
I tweeted out after the first period. I watched the last 15 or the last 15 minutes of the period. I missed the first 5. I said, Colorado's just smothering these guys. Like, that's what they're doing. They're smothering them, and they weren't breaking through because they didn't score 3 goals. They scored 3 goals in the third period, but they just smothered them all game. And like Binnington was hanging in there, and eventually, like, you hit something enough time, it's gonna break. And then I also mentioned on Twitter, I said I think this series is going to be intense but the intensity is going to come from St. Louis's frustration. And then you see at the end of the game, Binnington skate down the ice and start yelling at the Colorado goalie, whose name I can't remember right now for some reason.
Grubauer, yeah.
Grubauer, that's what it was. Am I correct on that? Like, if there's intensity in this series, is that stemming from St. Louis? Because I don't think Colorado needs to be intense at all. They just need to play their game. Like, they're playing shinny with these guys, in my opinion.
Dude, I agree with you. I just think, like I said, they're better skaters, they're a better team. And I could argue their third best forward is probably Landeskog. Their second best is. I just think their top end is so much better than St. Louis's top end that it's not funny. Like, yeah. I saw O'Reilly try to make plays. Like, I would say he's really good at little stuff, but you're not going to see him dashing through everyone crazy backhand. Like, he's not that type of player. But I don't think they have a lot of players that are like that. Tarasenko's been hurt a lot, so he's not really that 50-goal scorer that he usually was. Like, I remember he was on the cover of NHL for crying out loud. They lost Pietrangelo. I saw Torrey Krug try to make plays, but they just don't have it. I'm going to go Avs in 5.
Yeah, I think I had a sweep on this. I'll go 4 or 5 still for the Avs. I think I had it. I can't remember. I wrote it down. So we got one more series to touch on that has actually played. It's probably the most boring one. New York and Pittsburgh. What's your
Sidney
thoughts?
Crosby's disgusting. I know you said it was boring.
He tried to do it by himself. But boring in the way that you have to watch the Islanders play.
A lot of people don't like the Islanders. I just think they play a certain structure defensively that doesn't rely on their talent level. So they're very.
When you watch hockey, what do you want to see? A 1-0 game or a 7-6 game?
But dude, I am so weird. I actually appreciate what they're doing. The hockey nerd in me comes out.
I appreciate it. But if you're watching it every single time, you're like, God's sake, score a goddamn goal.
I know what you're trying to say, but I think it's like artwork. Like, I think it's insanity. Like, I remember, this is a good story I'm gonna tell your life, Josh. In high school, I used to sit beside somebody. Like, it was assigned seating in this one class for some unknown reason. So this girl, she would always draw pictures. So I would sit there for an hour and watch her draw it. And it was crazy because they're good. You know what I mean? So it's literally just the hockey version of watching the Islanders play. Like, it's so beautiful and it's crazy the way they forecheck, the way they backcheck, and the way they play, that it's entertaining. Like, you're watching a masterpiece. Like, it actually is. Like, I know it's crazy, but I think Pittsburgh is such a better team. But what the Islanders do, they collapse down low. They all play the same way. Like, their system is made to 3 guys can mess up. Okay, good. Now it's a 3-on-2. It's like, what are you going to do? Like, you know what I mean?
I'm glad you worded it like that, because now I want to ask you this question, and I think you'll have a pretty good answer on this. Is coaching going to win this series for the Islanders?
I don't think it's coaching. I think it's players buying into a defensive system. Like, I don't think
Which is coaching, though. A defensive system is coaching.
It's coaching, but I don't want to say, like, oh, Mike Sullivan got out-coached because he couldn't beat their system. Like, I don't look at it like that. You know what I mean? So if I say...
But look at Barry Trotz's history, though, right? Like, the Islanders have beat this team before.
Dude, I think if you're Pittsburgh, you got to do what you did to win cups. You got to absolutely out-grind them down low a lot. So when they collapse, you just throw it to a guy in the slot for a 1T. Like, I think the Leafs, Colorado, those type of high-flying teams, what they do against the Islanders, what they should do, is you do those high cycles. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Those high cycles. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you get a good shot by doing those high cycles. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So I think you just got to be on them offensively hard. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Good breakouts. Just play a really good hockey game. But if Pittsburgh gets this goaltending, man, I don't think they could beat them. Like, Jari's got to do better than this. Like, it's like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I don't know. I just think, Tristan Jarry was not good. I don't know if they want to throw in the backup. I don't know if they will.
I'll give it one more game.
I would give it one more game. Yeah, it's one of those series. If Malkin comes back, I think it changes the tide of the series, if you know what I mean.
I know what you're trying to say, but also, like...
Oh, but, you know, I don't think, like, Crosby seemed to be the only Penguin that was playing.
Yeah, Kapanen played pretty good down the stretch, but I think...
like, you can't be relying on
Kapanen. I know what you're trying to say. Like, you need your Gensels, your Letangs, your all these guys, but...
Yeah.
I think this is a situation where the Islanders play a suffocating hockey. I expect them to be better early in this series, but maybe when you get used to it in games 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe your skill will come out more. So I'm going to give Pittsburgh the benefit of the doubt, and I'll still have them taking it. Like, they were the better team, in my opinion. It's just the system with the goaltending. They had to battle so many things. Yeah.
Pittsburgh controlled that game through the first 2 periods, and then
Exactly.
in the third and overtime, they stiffened right up. Like, they weren't moving.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And I just think,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and like I said, like goaltending, but like if you're the Islanders, how often can you expect Kyle Palmieri to score 2 goals? You know what I mean? Like no offense to the Islanders, but like I don't expect them to score 4 goals. I think it's a 2-1, a 3-0. Like you know what I mean? Like those type of suffocating games. So I think if you're Pittsburgh and you score 3 goals again tonight and the next night, you're gonna win the majority of those games because you shut down Barzell and no one else on that team can kind of score like on will. Like you know what I mean? Like Matthews, all he needs is one shot. Barzell, all he needs is the extra space, but no one else in the Islanders is kind of built like that, you know?
Yeah. We got 2 more playoff series that haven't started yet, so let's touch on them quickly. Oilers and Jets. What are you expecting out of this? Obviously, the Oilers are the favorites. Is there a way for the Jets to win this? What's your feel on this series?
I think Connor Hellebuyck's going to have to play at like a Vezina. I don't even want to say Vezina. I want to say a Conn Smythe level for them to win. I think McDavid and Draisaitl is so good. And as soon as you get guys like McDavid Draisaitl in the series, my first thing is, okay, who's the defenseman that's going up against them? And I saw Jets fans say, oh, it's going to be Josh Morrissey. And it's like, that is not a recipe for success. Like you need a Victor Hedman. You need a Shea Weber. You know what I'm trying to say? Just a top defenseman who can, you can't even shut them down. You limit their chances. That's what you say. No one's shutting them down. And I look at Scheifele and Wheeler not exactly buying into a whole team kind of atmosphere. I look at people say, oh, Dubois is going to shut down McDavid. It's a perfect role. And I'm like, well, he's hurt, and I don't even think he's skated the last couple of days. I think he might play game 1, but you know what I'm trying to say?
So, I don't think they have Ehlers either, do they?
I don't know. I actually don't know because I think everyone in this series has written off the Jets so much that the media is not even reporting who's ready to go. Yeah. Like, I just have to look a little deeper, but I think I give it to McDavid, to be honest. I think Connor McDavid will win.
Yeah, this series feels like such a shame because if I was to tell you at the beginning of the year that you're getting the Jets versus the Oilers and then the Leafs versus the Habs in the first round of the playoffs, you'd be so pumped for that, right?
Yeah, dude.
Like at the beginning of the year. But now you've seen what the Jets are. You've seen what the Oilers are. You see you see what everybody are. You're like, this is going to be 2 just demolition derbies where one side isn't making it out.
Yeah, I just think Winnipeg, when you come in limping into the playoffs, like I think they were 3-7 in the last 10 or something like that. Yeah. You're just going to lose. Like you honestly can't come into the Stanley Cup playoffs limping. Like you need momentum. You need your goalie bailing you out. You need everyone to be playing at their top game. Like maybe they can just turn it on for game 1, but as an athlete, like I don't think it works that way. You know what I mean? Like you need to build momentum slowly. You can't just not run a track race for a year and then think you're going to come first. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a slow process to get to where you got to go. Yeah. And I don't think Winnipeg's on track to play their best hockey, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So who would you take in that series? Now that you've had some time to think. I know we did our predictions last show, but what do you still hold
Edmonton,
the same?
Edmonton.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the same thing. I just think McDavid and Draisaitl alone is too much to overwhelm the Jets.
And just a little teaser, if I'm Connor McDavid and we lose to the Jets, and the way we lose is we lose 7-6 and we get beat up or just a gong show, I'm asking for a trade this offseason.
Yeah, if I'm McDavid and I'm putting up 4 or 5 points a game and we lose that series in
I'm done.
4, 5,
I'm
6,
done,
7, yeah. I'm done. I'm gone. Because that means like this team, maybe he gives them a year. I think he would stupidly do that. But we'll see. All right, let's get to the last series, which I'm sure we both have a lot to say on, Leafs and Habs. I'll let you take it away.
The Leafs need to win this series. I think
they have to win this series.
I think our fan base will go absolutely nuts if they lose. Because I think losing to your rival just hits different. Like when we lost to Boston, it didn't feel the same when we lost in the bubble to Columbus. Like we kind of brushed off, said, oh, just get ready.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah,
it was kind of that. But if you're the Leafs and you lose to a Boston, Montreal, a big market type, I think you start feeling pressure from the people upstairs, like above Shanahan. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is like, I know this sounds really dumb, but when you actually think about it in a business perspective, it makes sense. This is like a business economic decision if they don't beat the Habs. You know what I'm trying to say? Because is it fair to say they're the 2 biggest teams in Canada in terms of market and dollar? I think that's accurate.
They're the 2 biggest teams in the NHL.
Well, the Rangers might say something about that.
They're 2 of the top 3 biggest teams in
That's
NHL.
fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
In terms of matchup, if you were to put two teams together in a playoff series, this is the series that with a full building, like back in a normal world, this series is making you the most money. I get what you're saying about the whole Shanahan thing. Like, I think if you lose in this series, and if you lose in,
I don't think it's gonna matter. To be honest, it could go game 7, triple overtime if they lose. Yeah.
If you lose in any way, I think this is a decision over Shanahan's head. Like, I think it's Rogers and Bell and Larry Tenenbaum
Exactly.
saying, guys, what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah, I think
it goes
to that.
I hate jumping to that because
it's fair.
95% of me is saying the Leafs win this series in 5 or 6.
Dude, I think they will. But also like.
But we've been Leafs fans, Matt. We know what happens.
I hate that narrative. I hate it when people say that. The reason I hate it when people say that is I think it's a lot different when Austin Matthews is 19, losing a series to Boston, than to when he's 23 and he's winning the Rocket, losing to Montreal. Like, you know what I mean? I think it's so different.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I don't like the comparison. Yeah,
I do understand that. Yeah,
like I just think like these are guys, and I just think the only reason I feel pressure, to be completely honest with you, is because I know the landscape of the NHL. I know in 3 years, Austin Matthews can be a UFA after the season. I know we have to pay more to Riley.
Why are you bringing that up?
No, it makes sense. Just let me do my point. I know after next season, I'm going to pay Morgan Riley. I know an expansion draft is coming, and I might lose God knows what, or I might have to trade pick Seattle.
You're losing Travis
Dermott, whatever. I know Sandin and Robertson want to get in the door. I know, you know what I mean? I know Jumbo and Spezza came here to win a cup. And if they don't win a round, it's like, hey, like, I left my life in San Jose not to win a round. Like, I could have done that in San Jose. Like, I only played an extra 2 weeks relative to what I would do if I stayed back home.
Yeah.
So I think so many people have made such sacrifices, like, on this team to where they got to win now. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, let's go off your that's a good segue, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's go off your Jumbo Joe theory. Does this Leafs team have an X factor in these veterans that haven't made it or haven't won it yet? Because obviously we have, Joe's played in a cup final, Muzzin's won a cup, but you've got a couple veterans on this team that haven't done it. They haven't won it yet, right? Like, you got Simmons there, you got Spezza, you got Thornton, you got a couple other guys on there that want that cup. They're a couple older. Foligno for sure. That's a huge one. Riley Nash even. Are these guys that can help the Leafs push in the playoffs, and is it enough to get them through the first couple rounds and into the conference finals?
Yeah, I look at it, just make it out of Canada, to be honest with you. So I kind of think it is. And also, people got to understand, like, people are playing for contracts. Like, if Jack Campbell flops, he'll never be a starting goalie in the NHL again. Is that fair? Like, he'll be a backup kind of guy.
I don't agree with that.
If he flops, do you know what I'm trying to say? But there's pressure
what do you say is flops? Like, they get swept?
Like, yeah, a Tristan Jarry performance, but for 5 or 6 games.
I don't think that could happen because Anderson would just go in, but I know what you mean.
But you know what I'm trying to say? Like, or Zach Hyman playing 7 games and us losing, he gets 1 assist. That will probably negatively impact him for his next contract.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
You know what I mean? Or like Riley's contract coming up, or Matthews and Marner. It's like, yeah, you finished top 5 in scoring when you won the Rocket, but you lost to the Habs, whose best player is who? Like, I actually don't know who the best player is. Maybe Weber, you could say. Like,
is it Galchenyuk?
Exactly. I'm not throwing shade, but what I'm trying to say is the Leafs are so top heavy and they have so much money invested into this year in terms of bringing in veterans, in terms of trading a first round pick. And Montreal doesn't have as many dogs in the fight. Like, when I look at Suzuki, Kotkaniemi, Caulfield, Romanov, they're young. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? So if I'm Montreal, just making the playoffs took a lot. So I'm not going to yell if I'm a Habs fan if they lose to Leafs. But if I'm Leafs fans, it's completely different because I have so much invested in it this year from a trade perspective and everything. So I think the Leafs need to win.
Yeah, man. Like, there is a lot, right? I think there's a lot more pressure on the Leafs in this series, but I think they can win it easy. Like, would you be surprised if they swept the Habs? I don't think you would be.
No, I know we're talking about, like, oh, what will happen, but the reason we're building this up and we're saying what we have and all the sacrifices made, it's me more validating to why we are going to win. So everything I just said, I could use that as a point to being like, yeah, we have Foligno. He's going to be really motivated. We have Simmons. He's going to be really motivated, and everyone's going to go. And I think this is the year where you prove to everybody, okay, like, we're not fucking around anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when I look at the Muzzin trade, that was only a year and a half ago, but how long ago does that honestly feel? Like 3 years ago, the Muzzin thing?
It feels forever
So
ago,
I think
like, yeah.
it feels forever ago. Like, I think the process has been so grueling that this is the year to get an award. Like, we almost won the President's Trophy. Like, we were first for a good chunk of the season, no?
We were, yeah.
Yeah, so I think, like, yeah, I think we should beat Montreal, and I think we should beat Winnipeg and Edmonton because we beat them, all three teams, we beat them in the regular season. When I look at the Leafs in the regular season, all the teams that we struggled against didn't make the playoffs, like Ottawa, Vancouver. I don't really remember the Calgary, but Ottawa and Vancouver definitely, we had some frustrated games against them. But, like, I think, like, we beat McDavid 3 games in a row before and limited him greatly without Austin Matthews. So I don't see us not coming out of the Canadian division. If we don't come out of the Canadian division, then I will see ramifications, maybe even in the fan base. Maybe people don't buy tickets. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, there will be public pressure. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah.
I've thought about this, and I've said, is it weird that I'm more scared by the Habs than I am the Oilers? Like, is that my inner fan coming out?
No, I think that's weird. Oh, only because they have Connor McDavid.
Not scared. No. Okay, so sorry. I think I worded that wrong. I would prefer to lose to the Oilers than I would to the Habs.
Yeah, I think if you lose to a team and their best player is better than your best player, you can just say, okay, like, what are we going to do? Like, it's kind of the Raptors, how we always lost to LeBron. It's kind of how so many teams never won because they played Michael Jordan. Like, I think in history that happens. Like, how many cups would have Washington have if they never played Crosby? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think, like, St. Louis would have won more cups if they never ran into LA and Chicago. Like, yep.
We have breaking news. The Red Wings have signed coach Jeff Blashill to a multi-year extension.
Yeah, I don't know why they would do that. We can talk about that next podcast, but I think now I want to talk about that. Fuck Josh. Anyway, so I just think I think we hit it enough. You want to actually talk about Blashill a little bit? I kind of want to.
Yeah, we can touch on the Red Wings if you want.
Yeah, I just think the reason I don't like that, and this is, I haven't read a press conference. You literally just told me that. My first thing
it happened 3 minutes ago. I don't know any other details.
Yeah, so I personally
I'll look them up while you talk.
Yeah, I just think, like, they've lost so much. It's like the message from Blashill is going to get lost. You know what I mean? And literally, as soon as he came in to coach the Red Wings, they fell off. Like, you know what I mean? When Babcock left and Blashill came in, literally, that was the end of their kind of Stanley Cup run and the streak of like 20 plus years. So I just kind of think all these young guys like Dylan Larkin, Siders coming in, Raymond, I think they need a new voice. And I just think there's a lot of good candidates out there. I know Gerard Gallant might get the Rangers job, but a good coach, like, they need to get their Mike Babcock to coach the younger guy. Not actually Mike Babcock, but you know what I mean? Like someone to show them the ropes. And I think Blashill, it's like, you've been a part of a failure. Why do I think you can get us out of the failure? You know what I mean? And also with the Red Wings, a lot of their high picks have not regressed good. Like when I look at oh my God, yo, dude, yeah. Anyway, so when I look at some of their high picks, like Josh, you remember Michael Rasmussen, who's a top 10 pick? You remember that name?
Yeah.
You know, remember Philip Zadina saying, I'm gonna fill Ottawa in Montreal's nets with pucks or something like that? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think those guys have not taken positive steps. I think Dylan Larkin hasn't taken a positive step. Yeah, he's the captain, but I think he could give more. And I think when I look at people who are underachieved statistically and prospects, and you're the coach who sees them on a day-to-day basis, why would I give you a multi-year deal to deal with them on a day-to-day? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think you having the worst season in franchise history, I don't care what team you are, that has to fall on the coach. And like I said, I think there's better options. So if I was Detroit, I wouldn't have done this just to get like a fresh perspective, to talk to my prospects and talk to my vets who've been there forever. That's my thought on that.
Yeah, I think you wrapped it up nicely. I understand why Detroit did it, but I also think
COVID.
Yeah, that maybe. But I also think you go with the guy who's been with this team for a couple of years now, and like their prospects are comfortable with him. I understand the whole fresh voice thing, but the GM and the coach, they have a better read on the room than what we do.
That's true.
Yeah. So
you know what I'm trying to say though. Like I think Detroit changes are good. Like you look at Toronto.
There's no wrong answer. Like it's easier to rehire the coach that you had than it is to bring in a new coach, and the risk is less because you know what you're going to get with the coach you have than say bringing in Bruce Boudreau or whatever.
Yeah, but let me put it in this perspective. Detroit needs to be bad for a few more years. I think you could say that. Like maybe 1 year, maybe try to get Bedard or right. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you're still in that mix of teams.
Yeah, I think Detroit's like a bottom NHL team for 1 to 3 more years, and then
whatever. We don't know yet, but whatever.
Yeah.
So if I re-sign this coach, but I think where did Detroit finish? You want to just look that up real quick? But anyways, no matter where they finish, 28. But last year to this year, it's night and day. Like you were Buffalo last year, and now you finished 28. That's a positive going up, you know. But what if they finish last again? Then it's like, okay, we're actually regressing, and we have more prospects in the lineup. So in my perspective, it's like, why would I like? There's me pressure to fire Blashill next year if they finish last again. You know what I mean? Yeah. So why would I re-sign that guy when I'm at the bottom and I'm planning to keep going to the bottom? Like, why not get? It's hard to explain, but you know what I'm kind of trying to say.
Yeah. So, one last thought before we get to Matt's debates. Kotkaniemi and Caulfield were practicing on the second power play unit today, but they were still in gray jerseys, which means they were scratched. Are the Habs playing mind games?
I think they're playing mind games. If they don't play, something's actually
you know
wrong.
What? I think the Leafs retaliated with sending Sabrin down to the AHL while Price and Gallagher were playing. I think they're playing mind games with each other already.
But dude, that's fucking stupid. No offense if I'm the Leafs, but I don't give a fuck who you play. I think I should beat you if you play your best players. Like, you know, what I'm saying?
I think the Habs are like trying to hide who they're playing. Like, I don't care. Play Cole Caulfield. I don't care.
Do you think that's kind of Canadian media, like looking at things a little too much? Like, who honestly gives a fuck? Like, maybe they were wearing those jerseys.
But why are you practicing on the second power play unit in a scratched jersey? That's my only question.
Dude, honestly, like, I don't know. Remember, I think Jumbo yesterday had to wear a McCabe jersey because his jersey got lost. Did you see that?
It got lost.
Yeah, it was something like that.
You're not losing two jerseys, though. Like,
I don't know, man. I'm not in charge. I don't know how this works. Maybe the equipment guy has to, like, lighten up before the playoffs team went out with the boys in Montreal. I have no idea what the scenario is. But anyways, I expect both of them to play, and let's move on to Matt's debates.
Let's do it. Great show today.
Okay, so it was a great show. It was only me and Josh, so we're getting a little tired, so we can do match debates, and then we're going to wrap up. First question, does the league need to change the salary cap system? We already talked about that. Josh, you mentioned the luxury tax. You want to get into that a little bit more? What do you think about the whole salary cap?
I think the whole LTIR thing, it's kind of broken. They do need, like, I know the NBA. What do they call it? Do they call it LT? What do they?
I have no idea what they call it.
But they do have an injury reserve, right?
They make stuff up, the NBA. Yeah, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, they have one, but they also have a luxury tax, so you can pay over the tax. I don't know what their ratio is, but like a luxury tax in the NHL, say you're paying somebody $3 million, but you're over the cap, you're paying them 3, but the cap hit that you're paying is 4.5 or whatever. And you have to pay that 4.5, and that extra money goes to the smaller teams. Like, they need something like that with a luxury tax. I'm not explaining it the best. If you want to know what a luxury tax is, look it up. Look at the way the NBA does it. They do it beautifully, where these teams who can afford it do it, and then the smaller markets get that money. I think that's the way you need it to happen in the NHL, because take a look at the teams that used LTIR this year. 15 of the 31 teams used LTIR.
Yo, Josh, 1 second. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay, I'll just pause the show quickly. Sorry about that quick break. We just had some breaking news we wanted to talk about. Montreal Canadiens head coach Dominic Ducharme confirmed Tuesday that Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Cole Caulfield, and Alexander Romanov will not be in the lineup for Game 1 in Toronto.
I don't understand that. I think those are 3 young players that could benefit their roster, so I have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, so I don't understand that, but that is breaking news considering we just discussed it. I think we've gotten very lucky with news on this show, to be honest, Matt.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. All right. So what was the question we were talking about? I totally forgot what the question was.
Yeah, we did luxury tax. You kind of described it a lot, and we talked about that. So we'll move on to the second question.
Yeah, for sure.
When we get back to normal, what playoff format do you want? Do you like them doing the division, what they're doing next year? Do you want it to go back to 1-8? Do you want to do 1-16? What do you think?
Damn, that is a fantastic question. I kind of enjoy what they're doing this year. But realistically, you cannot do a Canadian division every year. It just wouldn't make sense. I don't get the format they were doing the year before, like with the divisions and all that.
With the wild card shit.
Yeah, and the wild card. I don't get that. I think they're trying to like mega mind it too much. What was wrong with 1 versus 8?
I loved 1 versus, because I think it's so cool when 8 beats the 1, and it happened. I think Montreal beat Pittsburgh one year. I'm not sure. Montreal beat someone. Montreal beat Washington.
LA won the cup as an 8 seed.
Yeah, dude. Like I think especially in hockey, it's so cool because the President's Trophy winner might lose in the first round against the 8. Like, yeah. I think it's so much better.
I don't know what was wrong with 1 versus 8. I don't know if they change it. I think the NHL was trying to like force themselves into TV ratings for the playoffs.
And rivalry and shit. Yeah,
with these don't force rivalries.
No, you can't.
You can't.
And dude, if you're gonna force it, make them play in the Winter Classic. Make them play the first game of the season. Make them like. I think there's other ways you could do it.
Make them play Saturday nights.
Exactly. So, for an example, if I want Toronto Montreal to be a rivalry, what I'm gonna do is they're playing the first game of the season. They might play a Winter Classic, and they're gonna play the last 2 games of the season. Yeah. You know what I mean? So they just fight. Or you try to like I don't know. I just think you could do a lot more work, and also a rivalry in hockey is so like LA and Calgary have a rivalry. Who would have guessed that? Like, you know, like I think that it happens randomly. Like whenever we played Edmonton, even before this year, it was fun. The 2 games because it was McDavid from Toronto and it's Matthews who wants to be better than McDavid. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think it just happens naturally. Don't force it. Like look at Ovi and Crosby. Yeah. Like I don't care. Yeah, I would go 1 versus 8 if I'm picking.
There was nothing wrong with 1 versus 8. Your top 8 teams make it. I would prefer 1 versus 16, but I see how impractical that is. You want the equal number of teams from each conference, just for obviously for TV rights and all that. But you know, it is what it is. I would be okay if they went back to the regular 1 versus 8.
What about a play-in, or do you think that's stupid?
I think play-ins are stupid.
Yeah, I think play-ins are stupid too. Only just because I played 82 games and it's all going to come down to 1 game. Like what?
Yeah.
You can't force me to play the final game 7.
You can do a play-in in a tournament, but I don't understand doing a play-in after a regular season. Like you weren't good enough. You didn't make it. Fucking deal with it.
Dude, I don't know. Like what is like in life? There's no play-ins. Like,
no, there's no.
Like
where does this come from? It's a redo, right? It's a redo, right?
There's no redos in life.
Yeah. No, I know. I play-ins are so fucking dumb.
We don't, yeah, whatever. I'll go to the next question. Okay. Last and final question. It's what do you think? Do you think the Seattle Kraken will be good their first year? Your personal opinion, do you think they're going to be good? Do you think they're going to get playoffs? What do you think?
Can you answer first? Because I have one of their expected lineups. I actually had it ready for our preview show, but I can read it out now.
Yeah, read it out and then we'll both answer the question.
Yeah, so I just got to find it.
Okay, so okay. Yeah, so I just kind of look at Seattle and just overall. Yeah, okay, go.
So apparently this is their forwards. So it would be first line Tyler Benson, Anton Roussel, and Milan Lucic. Second line.
That's their first line?
Yes. Second line Austin Watson, Mason Appleton, and Vladislav Namestnikov. I think I nailed that. Third line, Ryan Johansson, Tyler Johnson, Brett Howden. Fourth line, Victor Rask, TJ Oshie, Miles Wood. And then extra forwards, Eric Robinson, Zach Austin Reese, and Matt Martin. Defense, you're looking at Kevin Shattenkirk, Ryan Graves, Brent Burns, Colin Miller, Brady Skacek, Travis Dermott, Alvin DeHaan, Shane Gostisbehere, and Jeremy Lozon. And then your goaltenders are Anton Abibulin, Adon Hill, and Jake Allen.
Yeah, dude, I think their defense, prediction. Yeah, their defense and goaltending is really good, but up front, if Johansson and Oshie are your 2 best players, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be as good as Vegas.
No,
but for some reason, I still.
But can that make the playoffs? Because I think that defense is good enough to make the playoffs.
I think they still might make the playoffs, especially the division they're playing in.
I think one team is going to fuck up. Like maybe it's even Tampa. Maybe Tampa says take Tyler Johnson and Alex Killorn, and we'll give you a first on top of that, just for the cap space. Because I could see Alex Killorn and Tyler Johnson both getting 50 points for the Kraken next year. I could see Dermott stepping up and maybe being a top 4 defenseman. I think they're gonna work. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like with Vegas in their first year, when they drafted the team, like tell me if
people bailed them out. Yeah.
No, tell me if I'm wrong. When Vegas drafted that team, you looked at that team and you were like, okay, that's not bad, but like, who the hell are these guys? Like, you thought that, right?
I thought that, but I think Vegas had so many prospects and picks to where something was gonna work. Like, you know, like if you look back at it,
let me finish my point. Like, they were a bunch of guys on that team that had never been given a chance.
Exactly, that's gonna happen again. Yeah.
Will that happen again? I don't know. NHL GM's going to be dumb enough to let it happen again? I don't know. Can I see it happening again? Yeah. Would I be surprised if Seattle makes the playoffs in their first year? I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Also, I think it's bullshit. Vegas doesn't have to participate in this expansion draft.
That's hilarious, dude. Like, I think
Seattle also is guaranteed a top 4 pick in the draft, by the way.
Yeah, I think that will help in a few years. I don't think they'll help next year because it's a weak
draft. They could get the first overall pick.
Yeah, but no offense to Owen Power, who was the projected first overall pick, but I don't think he could step into an NHL lineup and contribute next season.
The NHL draft lottery is in like 12 days, eh?
Yeah, that'll be fun. But yeah, just my Seattle point. I look at a team like the Leafs. We're stacked, but if they pick Adam Brooks, can you see Adam Brooks next year getting 15 goals?
I don't know, man.
I think he can. Like, I'm just saying, like, I think there's diamonds in the rough, and I think Seattle's going to find a lot. So, yeah, I think they'll be good next year. I think they'll be good. Okay, that's kind of it, Josh. You have anything you want to add? Oh,
I just did the draft lottery, and this is the order. I just did the simulation on Tankathon. I'll hit it one more time, so I'll reset it. We'll finish the show with this. So, sim lottery and top 3 picks. Arizona, that's hilarious because they would have to forfeit that pick. New Jersey and Buffalo. So those would be your top 3 picks. Can you imagine if Arizona got first and then had to forfeit it?
Do it again.
One more time? All right, I'll reset it. And here we go, sim lottery. Vancouver, Seattle, Buffalo. Ooh, that would be fun if Vancouver got that.
That would be fun. Oh, yeah. Yep.
So we will do a better draft show when we know the results, and we'll talk about who gets what. Until then, follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave comments down below. I don't care if they're good or bad. We want to hear what you think because that shapes the show. Matt, any words of wisdom?
Yeah, goodbye, everybody. Have a nice playoff night, and let's see if our predictions and everything we said in this podcast is right.
Yeah, and we will be talking more sports soon. It's just the NHL playoffs are hogging the airwaves right now. So thank you very much. Talk to you later. Ontario, if you're listening, get your shot. Everyone above 18 plus is eligible now. Get it so we can get back to normal. Talk to you later.